It's time to talk about the dragon armor user that sings Groban! Nah, I'm just joshing ya. I so wanted this unit to just dominate the battlefield. And it does, don't worry, had you scared, haha. No, this thing is awesome. Let's just get to the builds, I'm so excited. Let's get his digits. He doesn't have an inflated BST, but he has a really, really good one regardless. That speed is terrible, which is great because he has really good hit points. He has decent armor. He doesn't have a dumpster fire. He actually has a decent resistance for what we've been getting. So he's just an all-around good tank. And that attack of 40, whew, that pairs really nicely with what he swings with. Expiration, don't ask for a date on it. I really gotta stop the dad jokes. This thing is a souped up Lightning Breath Plus that's already refined practically because it gives you the conditional attack damage whenever the opponent is at range 2, meaning you'll hit against defensive resistance. Yes, it's already has built-in distant counter, and there's no penalty for the cooldown effect, and it's might 16. This thing is amazing. The rest of his kit comes with Ignis, a great weapon, has a good pop, good thing to have on somebody who has 35 defense stock. He also comes with Vengeful Fighter. Yes, Vengeful Fighter. Whenever he's initiated on, he's going to always get 2 swings as long as he's above 50% hit points, which is a substantial number for him, especially with that defense. And he's going to get a special cooldown trigger in addition to all this fighting he's doing. So there's a lot going on here, not to mention Ward Dragons. This is the first unit with War Dragons. It's pretty exciting. It's just sweet. I will take a brief aside right here and say that this banner that all the fallen heroes come from introduced some things that were in previous banners that were only limited time. So yes, I will be doing more builds with Vengeful Fighter and more builds with Bold Fighter since now they're in the general pool. I know that not everybody's going to get them. I will try not to make every single armor build use one or the other of these, but obviously he's going to be using them because he comes with them, so let's go ahead and get to those. And the first build, as always, is a budget build. If you have one, but you're a little bit lacking on any kind of extra resources to put into them, this is what you could do. Go ahead and put Reposition in his assist slot. If you're putting him in a mixed team, Pivot or Swap is probably better, but otherwise Reposition is going to work out really well. Then you're going to want to just put Fury into his A slot. That's going to actually do a lot for us, and we're going to be talking around the fact that all of his stats are just ready to tip over in so many different regards coming to these next builds. However, what this is going to do for us is it's just going to hit all the check boxes, and the penalty we pay for this is that we're accelerating to the point past where Vengeful Fighter is useful. Unfortunately, if you're looking at a budget build that has the most bang for the buck, this is it though. This really is it. You are going to eliminate one, if not 2, big threats on the battlefield using him, and that's it. It's a good build. I definitely recommend it if you're just like, I don't know what to do. Even if you're just sitting there like, oh, there's some things I want to do with him. I don't know what to do. In the meantime, I'm just going to put Fury on him. It's a fine choice. His best ratings are Wall and Deflector. The ratings, which you saw previously just for a moment on the base kit, and now here you see these this build with its ratings. They're from A to F, where an S is practically perfect in that particular region, and there's a lot of S's here. As a matter of fact, you're also going to see this trend. Red is causing us a lot of problems. And once we get into the DPT calculations, you're going to see that random green is going to give us a lot of problems. But I'm jumping ahead of myself. Well, let's not jump ahead of myself. Let's get going into a whole build here that utilizes DPT calculations and everything. I have a few builds here for you, and I'm doing it this way to sort of toggle and tweak a few things so that I can let you know what to expect with your evil Robin. So the base kit that we're going to be talking about for a little bit here is going to use Fierce Stance as its A slot, Vengeful Fighter as its B slot, and honestly the C slot can do whatever, but I'm assuming you use War Dragons. Obviously if you're putting him in an armor team instead, you know, adjust your C slot. Regardless, we're going to be taking a look at things, switching out his special, and that special is very important. Here we're using a Shuchen, and with this particular special, this really gives us the most resistance, and it gives us just enough with ability to withstand attacks that we're getting more kills using this. let's go ahead and go into the DPT. The DPT is Deltran's PvP threats. It has just recently been revamped. This is the first unit that uses it. The DPT is actually a lot more fierce than it used to be. Link down the doobly-doo to see the units and builds that are in it completely. I encourage you to do that just to review it. Let me know what you think, and you know what? If you're sitting there thinking, gee, I wish I had a build for a certain unit, if it's in the DPT list, it's a wonderful build. Light's gone out here. Don't want to deprave you from looking at this beautiful face. You're listening to the sound of my soothing voice! All these builds coming up, I do without any seal in them. That's typical for me. I like to be able to have things configurable unless a seal gives you such huge over-the-top potential. We're going to talk about which seals you may want to use here in a moment for this as we go into actually evaluating everything in the DPT. And it's a pretty good score. 10 and 11 on initiation, we don't care about that. We're getting 12 wins whenever we're initiated on. We're getting 22 wins when we're initiated on. It's a pretty good score, especially underneath this new DPT. Things are just so rough anymore, and we're able to handle quite a lot. You're seeing all the faces flash by here that we're getting on initiation, then on whenever we're initiated on. But let me go ahead and talk about what's going on here. First of all, pretty much any blue you're standing up to, if not killing it. There's a few you're not able to necessarily kill, but with a Shuchen, you're able to just withstand pretty much everything that's coming at you. And like I said, there's corner cases where that gives us a really big perk. As a matter of fact, you're going to see that Alm kills us whenever he initiates on us, but if you have a Shuchen charged up, you're able to actually take the first hit from Alm. That means you can initiate on Alm, and if you have a Shuchen there, you'll be able to actually withstand that attack, be able to bring him down lower, and if you do some other tweaking on different things here or there, have your party around there, that means he's able to handle Alm to some degree, which is pretty amazing. I really, really like that. Now, with the Shuchen activated, even if you don't start the combat with it activated, you do get a few extra wins that way because you need to be able to shave off some points, especially against units like Raven. He's a pain in the butt. Regardless, that does give you just enough to be able to continue going. Now you're going to be very beat up at the end of this, unfortunately, and there's not a lot you can do unless you have a healer with you. Having said that, the kind of seals that you would want to look at are anything that increases your hit points, whether it's literally like a hit point seal or figuratively with like a distant counter seal or a close defense seal. I said distant counter, didn't I? Close distant defense is what I meant. Honestly, the hit point seal is really nice because it does shave off a couple of different things. You could also go with a plus attack seal that actually does help accelerate some things, but there's a few matchups that you gain that you still can't compensate for on the other end on things that you lose. Like I said, Raven, Minerva, Winter Crom, Deirdre. These are units that you can take care of if you adjust yourself appropriately, but you're not going to catch all of them. Likewise, you can get some reds and defend yourself against some reds, but when it comes down to it, you're still really weak against red. Just don't expect him to... Just don't catch red, period. I would not necessarily recommend adjusting for red, but we'll also talk about that in just a moment. This next build, we're just changing out the special, and I'll show you what that's going to do. All we're doing is we're putting in Bonfire. Why Bonfire over top of Ignis? It's important to have that extra proc just that much sooner. There's matchups where the enemy's not going to be doubling you, meaning you're not going to get the charge for Ignis that you're going to need, and it's going to get you killed. So Bonfire is actually a really good substitution in competitive arenas. Now, once you have that on him, instead of Vestuchin, you're actually not getting as many wins, but you're rounding off things a little bit differently. Here is the list of people that change from what we were talking about before, and I'm just going to really let that stand for itself in this DPT, and you can make the choice as to what you want. You might not want to run a Shuchen, and here's the thing is that in the DPT, Ignis and Aether perform the same way, not against Gen Pop. Bonfire is important. If somebody comes at you with like a Hinata or something like that, you're going to have a bad time if you don't have Bonfire. But if you want to go ahead and just keep Ignis on him, or if you want to run Aether, because I know I am for arena points, then you know what? The DPT doesn't change. So the best of the best doesn't change. The most common that you're going to see doesn't change. You should be fine if you go with one of those options. But just know that if you're not seeing that top level of play, you're not always seeing the best all the time, you might want to go with Bonfire. Now, all of these builds ended up using Fierce Stance, and that's a great skill to have. It's available on 2 different units, and it gives you that extra pop of strength. I want to talk about 2 different things right here. First of all, IVs. Speed is the best bane, attack is the best boon. If you're minus attack, you're going to have lots of problems. Go ahead and post down in the comments what your boon is that you've got, and I would be more than happy to help you figure out a build or 2 that you could try that'll help patch things up or make things a little bit more palatable. He's still a very potent unit. He's just not going to be reaching super high kill counts like the builds that we're looking at right now, because we are assuming flat IVs. The other thing is that you can use attack and speed bond. Now this is available on Fjorm, so everybody has at least one. If you don't know, you know, chapter 1, book 2. So if you really don't like her, then you can actually just fodder her off and then get attack and speed bond on an armor unit. That's really great, because then when using that armor unit, you're always going to be next to somebody. That's just the way it is. Especially if you're in a mixed team, you're going to be next to somebody all the time. And then you can march these people forward up with you so that he gets that bonus all the time, and the speed that he gets actually does help him out. It stops him from being doubled, and it rounds off some of those other fights that we were talking about before. Not all of them, but I mean, it does enough tweaking that it is better, but you always have to have somebody standing right next to him. So if you're already sitting there going, well, I don't even care about ward so much, I'm almost always going to use home because I'm going to be moving up and keeping everybody in a nice tight formation. If you're doing that, great. You know what? Attack and speed bond is wonderful. If you're not doing that, Fierce Stance is going to give you the pop that you need pretty much 90% of the time. There's a few extra wins here and there, and honestly, they're only against red. Attack and speed bond's only getting you some red. Some important red. Some Eldigan. The Eldigan build in the DPT is very similar to Xander, what his best build would be, so I mean, it's something to be cautious of. You could consider it overkill, but it's also going to help save you once you start getting whittled down a bit. One final note that I have for you is that if you run Robin with another really heavy green unit, whether it's the new Hector or Myrrh, whatever, I don't care. If you run them with that, you are going to really cause some problems for your opponent in defensive wins. If you're having problems with defensive wins, put 2 heavy greens together, especially heavy greens that have a big retaliatory attack like Myrrh can, like Hector can, and like Robin can. Once you do that, you're basically making your opponent have to work around the fact that they can use the red unit to go ahead and attack one or the other, and they'll probably make it work, but they're going to get walloped on. And frickin' Robin is going to either bring them really close to death's door or finish them off for you if they're if they chose him to be the second priority target. It's just a little tip for you if you are like, oh, I don't know which green unit to use. The answer's 2. Use 2. So this last build I have for you just completely reworks him. He's no longer a unit that catches things. He's a unit that pitches things. For raising, we're going to give him Bold Fighter. Okay, we're gonna give him Bold Fighter. We're gonna just give him Death Blow for this particular build. Believe it or not, if you try to get the extra arena points and go with Swift Sparrow, it doesn't give you that much more benefit. But then again, if you're trying to go for arena points that is valid, it's gonna catch most of what we're about ready to see, which is pretty ridiculous. And yes, I have Bonfire here to help round off some things. Same caveats as before with going from Bonfire to Ignis or Aether. Let's roll into the DPT. 33 kills on initiation on this new DPT. And like I said, these are really good units. Now, with particular IVs and with adjusting different seals, you'll be able to actually recoup a couple of those. And really, there's only going to be like one unit that gets away from you if you're on even merge levels, depending on your IV set, depending on the seal that you put. But I'm going to let that be to you. Base, flat IVs, no seal, this is what you're getting. It's I love it. I love it. And now the reverse side, whenever you're being initiated on, you could go ahead and put in the quick repose seal, and you won't save yourself against anybody you see there, but you are going to add 5, 6, 7 more people onto your kill list as far as catching goes. And if you put Aether on there along with quick repose, it's going to be nice because you're going to start to charge up Aether. You're probably going to be really beat up, which is fine. Then you can initiate into somebody, finish that off. Maybe you need to take the one hit, maybe you don't. It depends on the matchup, but regardless, all of the people that we're having problems with before aren't giving us problems anymore. And even if we're just a bit low on hit points, if you do something like Aether, you're going to charge up again. If you don't do Aether, if you do something like Ignis, then you're just going to kill them outright before you even need to replenish your hit points. So there's like no losing here with this build. It's not a catch build by a long shot. If you want to do an enemy phase build, you know, the numbers here aren't as good. You can't tweak it like you could the previous sets of builds that we talked about, whether you're using Fierce Stance, Attack and Defense, Bond, doesn't matter. Need to finish letting some of these kills go past on the screen, so let me talk about one last thing. I really wanted Warding Breath to be a good A slot for him, and it's pretty decent. It doesn't give you as much mileage as you would hope. I mean, if you do that, and even with Distant Defense, you know, once you put on Distant Defense, then there are some things like Deirdre that you're able to take care of without too much problem, which is nice, but you don't see her that often, in my opinion. The thing is that I just don't think that he needs it. He doesn't give you enough for it. There's other A slots that you could put in there that would give you bigger benefit for it. Now, if you get rid of his Vengeful Fighter or Bold Fighter from his B slot, then yeah, you can go ahead and go with Warding Breath or Steady Breath or something like that to help recoup your charge up, because he needs to have that charge up. Even with 56 attack, he needs that charge up. But you could do that. You could go ahead and put in Glimmer to help give him extra quick boost, because if you do something like getting rid of his ability to swing repeatedly, you're going to need to be able to give him something like Glimmer that's almost always going to charge up once he gets hit, and he can just retaliate with that. So that is viable. I didn't like the numbers. I didn't like the DPT matchup. That's why I don't have it displayed here. I'm going to try to talk about the builds that I reject once in a while, just so that you guys know what's going on, but I'm not going to keep showing builds. I'm not going to show builds that I don't necessarily approve of, because, well, I looked at the numbers and the math, and it's just the way it is. So are you excited for this unit? I am so excited for this unit. I need to get back to using him. He's so much fun. But let me know what you think down in the comments, and do me a favor, if you like your Fire Emblem information hot and fresh at Grandma's Cookies, hit that subscribe button. My name is Deltran. Thank you guys so much. I greatly appreciate all of you. And until next time, take it easy.